Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Lewis, and I am here as a staff member from Girl Scouts of Kentucky's Wilderness Road. And today we have with us Miss Brittany Speed, Miss Laura Mitchell, and Miss Naya Howell. And Naya, I am going to turn it over to you to lead this Unstoppable Women event. And if you don't mind introducing yourself, and then you can ask our panelists to introduce themselves and go on into your interview questions. So I'm going to turn it over now to Naya. Thank you all for being here.
My name is Naya Howell. I'm in fifth grade. I'm 11 years old, and this is my fifth year in Girl Scouts. Yeah, this is my fifth year. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you all do.
I can start. I'm Brittany Speed. I am currently the Chief Financial Officer at Beach Acres Parenting Center. We're a nonprofit organization located on Beachmont Avenue in the Cincinnati area. And I am a certified public accountant, a CPA by trade. Started my career in public accounting, did all things accounting and finance, numbers related, and then kind of explored through my career into the operation side of things, and also into the nonprofit sector now. So that's a little bit about what I do professionally. Personally, I have two children. My son is 4 years old, and my daughter is 2. And we live in the Cincinnati area, and going through a lot of milestones as a family with 2 young kids at home. Laura.
Thank you, Brittany. So I'm Laura Mitchell, and I have the pleasure of working with Brittany on a daily basis. And so we both work for Beach Acres, as she indicated, located on Beachmont Avenue in Cincinnati. I will say that I discovered my passion at the age of 4, when I knew that what I wanted to do when I grew up was to be able to help people. And so I was the kid in the neighborhood who would gather all the little neighborhood kids together, and we would have school in the basement, and I'd set up little TV trays. And I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher and that I wanted to be able to help kids. And so after I finished high school and college, I became a teacher, and then a principal, and then eventually a superintendent in the 3rd largest urban district in the state of Ohio. And so that's a little bit about who I am professionally. In my personal life, I'm married, and I have 3 stepchildren and 3 grandkids, and we're raising one of our granddaughters. She's 11 years old. She'll be 12 soon, and she's going to the 7th grade.
And Naya, I forgot to mention, I'm sorry to interrupt, if you all want to alternate who answers the questions first, or Naya, if you just want to direct the questions at one and then the other can answer after, that works too. However you all want to do it. I need to mention that before. Okay, go ahead, Naya, sorry.
If you could live anywhere, where would it be and why?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this one. Yeah, I think if I had to choose anywhere right now, I'd always go back to Florence, Italy. So I lived there for a summer when I was in college, and I actually lived in Rome, but we traveled around into different cities of Italy, and Florence was my favorite because it was really historical and really beautiful. There's a lot of architecture there and a lot of history, but it's also a city, so there's a lot of things to do, and it's located kind of in a perfect spot in my mind, where there's the countryside and also the city. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So that's what I always envision. Laura?
So Naya, that's a really hard question. So I have it narrowed down to 2 general areas. So I absolutely love the beach. I love the Caribbean. So anywhere near water, I would love to live. But at the same time, I love the mountains. And so I love out west. I love the vegetation there. I love the crisp air. And so that would be really hard. But I think that I would love to live within a national park out west. I love being outside. And so, yeah, that's where I would really like to live, in a national park out west.
Brittany, what would you describe as a perfect day?
That's a tough question too. I would say, it would be kind of like it is today. So it's really sunny out, warm, kind of the quintessential spring or summer day. And then it would be, a day where I didn't have, any place to rush off to, and I could just take my time and, you know, sleep in a little bit, see my kids in the morning. We could, play outside all day and not really have, any places to rush off, and could explore the outdoors together. Maybe go to the zoo, maybe go to the parks. That would be a perfect day.
So a perfect day for me would be to wake up to a window that's open with a breeze blowing in, and sitting outside by a campfire eating bacon and pancakes. Putting on some overalls and some rubber boots. So, most days I wear like a suit, or at least a suit jacket. And my favorite thing to wear is like overalls and some rubber boots. And so then part of my favorite day would be to go out and pick fresh strawberries in a strawberry patch, and then get some vegetables out of the garden, cook a wonderful meal, and just really spend all day outside, hiking through the woods, sitting by a pond. That would be like my perfect day. Slow and easy outside in the woods.
Laura, how do you balance your career, personal life, and passions?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question, because so many times people talk about balancing your life between work and your home life. And it almost sounds like you have two different lives, right? But you don't. You only have one life. So to balance, what I like to be able to do is to think about those things that truly bring me joy. Am I able to have time to do those things? And so I'm a very creative person. So I like to draw and paint, although I'm not very good at it, but I like to do it. I like to do arts and crafts. I love to read. And so when I'm stressed, I find that it's because I'm not making time for me to do the things that I really enjoy doing. And so the balance is really about going to work and giving 100% when I'm there. But then when I'm off from work, really enjoying those things and taking the time to enjoy the things that bring me joy. If I don't have the time to do those things, then that's when I feel stressed out at work, because there is no balance. And so that's how I see balancing home and work.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. Mine's very similar. I mean, I think that especially as women, there's this myth that there's a work-life balance and there's a perfect kind of this perfect zen of, the right amount of work and the right amount of personal life or family life. And the reality that I found is there are seasons to life. I think there are different seasons, and sometimes you lean in a little bit more at work, or you might lean in a little bit more at home because of things going on in your life and different, cycles of life events. But on the day to day, I think, similar to what Laura said, I really try to tap into what I enjoy doing. And I tried to find those things that I enjoyed doing early on in my career, so that, I could use those things as an outlet. So for me, it was volunteering. I really enjoyed, and I didn't even realize how much I enjoyed it. But growing up in high school and college, I was always volunteering and always, looking to do different community service projects. And so I really enjoyed that. So when I, got out of college and started my career, I was working a pretty demanding schedule and I was finding I was missing that. So started leaning in more on the, in the nonprofit side and got involved in some boards and volunteered my time. And that's kind of led to a career now. So in a way, I've kind of married the passions that I've had to help people and help organizations with the professional side that my strengths are, from a number standpoint and financial standpoint and business. And so trying to find those ways that you can take your strengths and do what you also enjoy, in a compatible world there. So yeah, and I find time to do something I enjoy every single day, not once a week or not once a month, but really every single day, even if it's for a little bit of time.
What motivates you to work hard, Laura?
So I will say that my motivation probably started when I was pretty young in terms of the way that my parents raised me. And so they believed in working hard and anything that your name is associated with to do your absolute very best. And so what motivates me to work hard is a strong work ethic around whatever it is that I'm doing. I want to do the absolute best. I will have to admit as well, I do have a competitive nature to me. And so if there's like a little competition involved, even if it's my own, competition in my head, that motivates me. So, I can think about, especially when I was just starting to exercise and I was like in my early 20s, like really starting to exercise. And I would go to fitness classes and I would find the absolute best person in that entire class. And then I would benchmark myself against that person, right? I would compete against that person. Now that person had no idea that I was competing against them. And then I wanted to see, can I get better and better and better? And then at some point or another, am I able to do things that maybe that person isn't able to do on that day? And so I think that sometimes my work ethic from when I was growing up, a little bit of a competitive edge, in addition to the fact that, again, if I say I'm going to do something and my name is behind it, then I want to do the absolute very best. And I want it to be excellent and to do all things in excellence. And so if it's something that I'm really passionate about, I'm like a dog on a bone. And if you've ever seen a dog with a bone, it won't let it go. And I can't let it go. There's like something inside me that won't let it go until I'm able to finish and to be able to finish well. And so it comes from my upbringing, it comes from my competitive nature, and then it also just comes from wanting to do a really good job with whatever I'm doing. Even if I'm setting the table or washing dishes, it doesn't matter. It's important how things look. It's important that they're in the place that I like for them to be. And so to do things in excellence is really important. Not to do things in perfection, but to do things extremely well is really important to me. So a little bit later on, I'm going to go and work out with a trainer today. And so I'm like always pushing myself. And he says, you don't have to give 100% in every single thing. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I do have to give 100% because that's just my nature. That's how I am.
Yeah, for me, motivation to work hard. I think, similar to what Laura said, really just wanting to do my best in anything I do. And so, a learning that I've had is I don't have to do it all. I have to pick and choose those things that, I want to do, or I have to do, or, given my strengths that are best positioned for me to do. But then when I choose those things, I do them 120%. And I need, I want to work hard to deliver the best product or whatever that may be, or have my best effort, I guess I should say. And I think the motivation there is yeah, I think it's maybe there's some competitiveness with other people, but I think I'm my biggest competitor. I'm most competitive with myself. So I always want to do better or improve upon, what I'm doing and make it better. So I think that's the kind of the motivation for the hard work of, always wanting to achieve. There are these strength-based tests that you might have heard of, like Strengths Finders or via Strengths. So my number one strength of Strength Finders is the achiever, and that's always what is the top of my scoring, and that's you always you start over every morning. You start over with a blank slate and okay, what am I going to get done today and what am I going to work towards today? So that's kind of where my motivation comes from.
And now I'll have to say that Brittany's being very modest right now, but this is a woman who has run many marathons. And so if you can only imagine, and I can't, the mental fortitude, in addition to the physical fitness it takes to do that, and also do like an outstanding job at work, and serve on boards and chair boards. And so she's being very modest about her enthusiasm and her motivation and her drive. She is a very goal-oriented, excellent, driven woman.
What ways do you implement self-care?
Yeah. Well, I could piggyback off something Laura was just naming. So she mentioned I run. So I run, marathons. I run also for fun. I'm kind of in that running for fun mode right now because I just ran my marathon. So I really like to run or work out. Sometimes I've been incorporating through COVID. I've done a lot more walks with friends. When we couldn't see each other inside, we got in the habit of walking in the evenings, and so we'd be outside. So just, kind of, again, it goes back to what are those things that you enjoy? And it may not be the same thing. It may be a list of 10 things that you really enjoy, but find one that you can do, 1 or 2 or 5 that you can do every day, to kind of fill you back up. And for me, that's, physical activity, being around, friends and family. I need to talk to people throughout the day. I don't like to be by myself too long. And dancing or dancing with my kids, those kind of things, just to find that little break throughout the day.
So for me, self-care, I do love walking. I like walking outside. I like walking through the woods. I don't do it extremely often, but that's a form of self-care. By nature, I'm an introvert. And so at work, I'll push myself really hard to talk and be out there. But when I get home in the evenings, then my self-care time is for me to be able to be quiet for like a 45-minute block of time. And that really helps me because the way I rejuvenate is to be reflective about my day and what I want to accomplish the next day. And so that quiet alone time in the evenings is like really critically important for me. And so when I'm like rushing home and my granddaughter's yelling at me and my husband's trying to do something, it's like, okay, just stop and give me a couple of minutes. I just need to breathe. And that to me is self-care. And for many, many years, I would never tell people, look, just stop and let me have a chance to breathe. But I've learned to say, I need this for my own mental well-being. I just need a little bit of time. And so being reflective, reading also is a part of self-care for me. Sometimes journaling and writing can be a part of self-care for me as well. I used to think that self-care was like getting your hair done and your nails done and all those things. And they are very nice, but they don't necessarily fill you back up, or they don't necessarily fill me back up. So I do them, but I've learned that having some quiet alone time really fills me back up.
Laura, how important is it to develop financial literacy and confidence in money at a young age?
Yeah, so I'll start, but Brittany is going to be the resident expert on that. I'll just say that it is important because we start to form habits very early in life, right? And so there are all types of habits that we form. And what we want to be able to do early in life is to be able to form really good habits around saving money, around giving money, investing money, and spending money, because you do want to enjoy it, right? But you also want to make sure that you can prevent from falling into some very negative or some habits that can have a negative effect on you long term. And so the earlier, the better. In many schools, school districts, they have literacy, financial literacy programs for kids, where kids can earn money at school, or they actually earn like tokens or incentives in school, and they can decide to spend some of that incentive money for prizes that they can get, or they can decide to save it, or they can also decide to give some away to someone else. And so I think it's important to really form good habits early on. And it's when you start, it should be when you're a kid. But again, I'm sure that Brittany will have a much more sophisticated answer than I do.
No, I was, building on the habits. I think, that's spot on. And that, my thoughts there are, it's really important at a young age because the choices we make early on, do impact or can impact the choices you have, or I should say the options you have later in life. So, if you choose to, start to develop some healthy habits, I mean, even with eating or with, exercise, it's the same thing. But from a financial standpoint, if you start to develop some healthy habits around managing your money or saving your money, or mindfully spending it, you can, by default, it just comes more natural to be able to save up enough so later on, when you're in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, you can do different things than others may not be able to do at that time if they weren't making those good choices. So it's really important because it has kind of a snowball effect where it might start off as small things, but it kind of gets bigger and builds. And that can cause, a make or break situation on your livelihood later on, of what, impacting the choices you have on, what you do with your free time and where you live and how you get from point A to point B. And so I think it's really important, and everyone needs money for anything they try to do. So it's something that is always going to be there. And the earlier we can, get into healthy habits and learn about those habits. And even as adults, I mean, and I'm a CPA, but I'm still learning financial habits or techniques that, will pay off later. And, when it comes to saving for my kids, their college, and, saving for, my retirement of what I do like to work, but I probably don't want to work forever. So, there are habits that we need to build early on, thinking 30, 40 years down the road, for when you do have a lifestyle change and you want to do some other fun things.
One thing that all Girl Scouts gain, specifically from Girl Scout Cookies program, are solid money smarts that will last a lifetime. What other things can young women do to learn to build and practice smart budgeting habits?
Yeah, so one thing, that, Girl Scouts can do is start off by practicing, saving, saving anytime you get birthday money, or, if you money for chores or doing things around the house, really thinking of saving that and thinking about where you want to best spend that, that money that you're getting. Do you want to put it in the bank? Do you want to spend it on something that you really want right now? And why is that important to you? And just kind of starting with the mindfulness practice around money, and just and not even on your own money, but even starting to pay attention to where your money comes from, and your family, and how that goes to, pay for food and for, transportation or schooling or your house. And so just thinking about, you know, those things. I know I'm starting to teach my 4-year-old, anytime you want that new t-shirt, we don't just order it on Amazon. That's what he keeps asking, every day. Can we order this on Amazon? It's like, no, that costs money. It's not just the click of a button, that comes from somewhere, right? So just thinking about how, how you get your clothes and how you get your food, and where that comes from, and where the dollars are going, is a really nice kind of easy way to start understanding and being a little bit mindful about where our money, comes and goes.
Yes, and so I would say, just to build on what Brittany said, if you really want to know what a person values, what's important to them, look at how they spend their time. What do they do? And then look at how they spend their money. And so, to Brittany's point of being really mindful about money, really thinking about what do I value, and that's where I'll spend or save my money. And so I think that is really important, to just be really intentional and be mindful, because it says a lot about what you value in life. Yeah, so.
How would you explain a credit score to a young woman, and why is it important to keep it high?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Laura.
So I would say that a credit score is important because the economy that we live in is based on credit. It is. And so when you think about buying large things like a car or a home or paying for college, these are things that many times people will use credit for. Most people don't go out and pay cash for a house. Now, some people do, but most people don't. And so that credit score is really important because it helps whoever you're trying to borrow money from say how dependable they think you are. But it also tells them how big of a risk they think you are. So not only is your credit score important when you want to buy something like a house or a car, you want to pay for college, but also employers look at that. So if you want a job, sometimes employers will run a credit check first to look at your credit score. And if you have a good credit score, then it tells them that this is a person who probably is dependable. They come to work on time, they do a good job, and they save their money and they invest it well. And so if you don't have a good credit score, then it can tell people a different story. It may tell them that you're a risk and that they may not want to loan you money, or they may not want to hire you because you aren't a very responsible person. And so a credit score can be very important on a number of different levels, specifically in the United States, because our economy is really built on credit.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I think, the importance of keeping it high is really, once you, and I can talk a little bit, I've thought of an analogy, but to kind of equate what that is, because I admit, even, as a young adult, I was kind of baffled by how you generate a credit score, what determines your credit score. So, but once you do something that may bring your credit score down, it's very hard to build that back up. You can do it over time, but it will take time and it takes trust, essentially. So it's basically, credit score is really what lenders, or what someone who is willing to loan you money, or give you a loan for a house, or to buy something. It's what they use to determine how reliable, as Laura mentioned, and how likely they are to get paid back, not only the full amount, but get paid back on time. So, and basically you build a credit score based on how often you are, you are, you know, either getting credit cards and paying your, you know, making your payments on time. So if you have a credit card or you have a couple credit cards and you're using that, but then you pay it off right away, that's the best practice because it shows that you can be trusted with a credit card and you can pay that off in a timely manner. If you have a credit card and you don't pay the minimum amount or don't fully pay it off over time, that's a sign to those people that, you know, are willing to lend you money that they may not get their money back. And so you can just equate it to, you know, if you have a friend who's willing to let you borrow lunch money or something, if you forgot your lunch one day, if you go and, you know, bring them the money back the next day, they're probably likely to give you, you know, lend you that money again when you forget your lunch next time. But if you don't, or if it takes several days or a week and you don't get your money back, they're not likely to give you that money again. So it's really important, and it does affect, you know, when we talked earlier about the choices you have, you know, the decisions you make now can impact the options you have later. You know, if you make poor decisions around your, you know, the credit that you take out now, it could impact what you're able to, you know, purchase later in life. So.
Brittany, what do you believe will be the biggest challenge for the next generations of female leaders behind you, and what advice would you give them?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You know, I don't know, maybe I'm being very optimistic today in these days, but I actually think that the biggest challenge is really honing in on what you're most passionate about and what you enjoy doing and going after it. I think that there's a lot, there are still, you know, barriers that exist for women, you know, in building their careers, but I think it's getting a lot better. And I think that there are massive opportunities to be able to do that. And especially, you know, girls your age who are coming up in the world, I think will have a whole new set of opportunities to do even more. But then to me, the challenge is figuring out what that is that you want to do. Once you figure it out, sky's the limit and you can go after it. It's really, I think the challenge exists in, you know, choosing your own adventure and where you want to put your time and your passion and your energy towards. And then you can make a plan to get there. But Laura?
So I agree with Brittany. I think it is going to be critically important to figure out what you want to do, what your passion is, and then how do you go after that thing or, you know, that dream. I would say that because of there being such a talent shortage, that you'll have your pick of any job that you want. I do think that a major challenge for future women leaders or just women leaders in general is to think about continuing to forge ahead, because there's still some inequities as it relates to women and men, especially in the workplace, and to not become complacent. So women make up about 50% of the population in the United States, and about 57% of the women in the United States work. But would you be surprised to know that out of the thousands of, for example, superintendents in the United States, women only make up 27% of them. Whereas in schools, the teachers, 76% of them are women. Doctors in the United States, women only make up 36% of the doctors in the United States. If you look at CEOs, heads of organizations and companies, women only make up 8.2% of all the CEOs in the United States. Singers, this was surprising to me. I couldn't believe that in the United States, women only make up 20% of the singers who have really made it big. And in your Fortune 500 companies, your top companies that make the most money, CFOs, which is what Brittany is, the Chief Financial Officer, women only make up 6.8% of the CFOs. But here's the really interesting thing. In social media, females make up 84% of the influencers. And so what that tells me is that women have power and we need to exercise our power. And it's not about being against men, not at all, but it's being for women. And it's using your power for good, to influence, to build agency, and quite honestly, to promote other women and other females. Sometimes that can be hard. Girls, especially at school, they'll get mad at each other and they'll carry the drama on forever and ever, or they'll be haters, as the kids say. But like, how can we support one another as women, as young ladies, and promote each other? Because sometimes life is really hard. And so I think that what will be a challenge is to not become complacent, to continue to forge ahead, and then also to celebrate and to be able to really promote and encourage other women and other young ladies to do whatever it is that they want to do. The other thing that I will say that I think is a challenge, and I hope that young women understand this, is that you don't have to wait to become an adult to do something truly amazing. There are young people, there are kids all around the world, young girls all around the world doing amazing things. And you can do that too, as long as you believe in yourself.
Thank you so much, Laura. That is so well said. What a perfect note to end our Unstoppable Women on. Just women building up other women. And you are absolutely so right about you do not have to be an adult to do something amazing. I have seen some of the Bronze and Silver Award and Gold Award projects that our Girl Scouts do, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Our girls are amazing. So again, my name is Sarah Lewis, and I am so grateful to have had Brittany and Laura and Naya on here for our Unstoppable Women today. And thank you so much for doing the interview, Naya. You did such a great job. And thank you to our attendees who were able to attend today. And I just hope that you'll have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Great job, Naya. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.